whatever you wind up doing is exactly what you should be doing.
And I have not behaved one single day of my life. Not one day of my life have I behaved, and I am fine.
I need your help. I can't tell you what it is. You can never ask me about it later, and we're gonna hurt some people.
Whose car are we gonna take?
Good morning, and thank you for joining us on the Nikki Medoro Show. Good morning, or I guess whenever you watch the show, since we are on replay. Thanks for joining us. Fun show ahead. We will be joined by Emily Hoven with the San Francisco Chronicle's editorial board at the towards the end of the show, in the last 15 minutes or so of the show. She's going to be talking about the Chronicle's editorial regarding California's insurance market. Basically, it's a ticking time bomb. We've seen it. We've been talking about it, about how, insurance companies are leaving the state in droves, and that's leaving the rest of us to either lose our policies or pay astronomical prices. So what's the answer? We'll get the take from Emily when she joins us. We will, of course, be talking about the proffer videos from both Sidney Powell and Jenna Ellis. I have some of the video for you as well. The House is trying to figure out how to keep the government going. And Kim McAllister, did you hear that it kind of got a little testy between House Speaker or former House Speaker Kevin McCarthy and another Republican? Apparently, Kevin McCarthy elbowed another Republican congressman.
Whoa.
We'll get the play-by-play from that congressman. It was caught right in front of a reporter. McCarthy didn't give two craps. And it just goes to show, they're imploding. They're absolutely imploding. So is Truth Social. Apparently, Truth Social is losing money hand over fist. I don't know who actually uses Truth Social. The only time I hear about Truth Social is when Donald Trump himself posts on there, because he can't post anywhere else, because then it would obviously be evidence that Truth Social is a cesspool of people that, it's not everybody. It's not like Twitter or X or whatever. It's not like Facebook. We'll, of course, update the I-10 fire. They're thinking it's arson. Governor Newsom was giving a press conference yesterday. And then, of course, San Francisco lives up to its bad reputation during APEC. But before we do any of that, you guys, please click the thumbs up button. Show your support of the show. YouTube loves it. Even if you remember after the fact, go back, go to the other shows, click the thumbs up button. Sometimes I even forget. It's not often, but sometimes I even forget. The super chat is also live. You just look for the $sign under the live chat box, and you can throw us a super thanks, a super comment. We'll read it live during the comment, and all of that money just really adds up to help us continue to do the show. And then, of course, make sure that you're Medorable. Just go to thenikkimedoroshow.com to donate to our Patreon. It's a one-time a month payment. If you could bump it up, I'd really appreciate it. If you can afford a few more dollars, $5 more a month, it would really, really help us out. Hold on. I saw something in the comments. Here we go. Square. Nikki's test mailing should be complete by now. Ricky, soon to receive a badge. Okay, guys. I have not received my pin. I mailed it, and I mailed it back to myself. I have not received it. Now, could they be holding it up? I have no idea, but I sent it, on Thursday? I sent it on Thursday last week? Thursday or Friday? I think it was Thursday. So I don't know what that means. I don't know if it's just taking a long time. I don't know if it's been caught up in the machine and I'm going to get pieces of this pin together. Ricky, I still have your donation. I refunded everybody else. I'm not spending it, obviously. So we'll figure it out. On that note, check out the merch shop. I have included some other type of pins, not the Medorable pin, because those are the official Medorable pins, and there's only a handful, and I've been promising you guys I did not make another Medorable pin. Depending on how this goes, I might in the future, but I want to get these ones out to you. But go to thenikkimedoroshop.com. I have a 5-pack of buttons. They're different buttons, including one with the show logo on it, and some other ones of it speaks of the show, little sayings and things that just totally echo what our show is all about. So go check them out. Again, you get all 5 buttons for one price, but there is not a Medorable button. I'm still trying to figure it out. I am going to get you guys your pins one way or another. Yeah, it is snail mail, but I mean, I'm telling you, I feel like I should have gotten it by now. If I sent it on Thursday, let's just say they picked it up on Friday, Saturday counts, Monday counts, and it's literally in the same neighborhood. So I don't know. Anyways, we'll figure it out and I will keep you updated. So yeah, just support the show in any way you can. Keeps the lights on and we absolutely love it. Speaking of things that people spend money on, I saw this yesterday. And is anyone out there a collector of whatever is really hot and what everybody wants to get their hands on? I mean, the holidays are coming, so we understand, we can kind of put it in our generation, the Cabbage Patch craze, the Tickle Me Elmo. Remember all these sorts of things? It seems like there are so many items that everyone just has to have. Okay, there was no mail on Saturday. Okay, so maybe that's why. I'll give it today. I'll figure it out. Okay, but apparently the newest hot item to have is the Stanley cup. Now, if you don't know what a Stanley cup, it's a reusable, it's a reusable cup with a handle. It has a lid. It has a straw. It's a reusable cup. They're expensive. Naturally, they're expensive. They're like $50 normally. Well, they've teamed up with Starbucks. I'm going to show you. Now, the cups, of course, are limited supply because it's not as if Stanley makes these cups, right? It's not as if we can get these cups anywhere else. It boggles my mind. But here is a listing on eBay for a Stanley Cup with Starbucks. So you tell me. Here we go.
When you say Stanley Cup, I think of like the hockey.
No. Oh yeah. No.
Yeah. Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay.
Cups in your house, because if I said I know Stanley. So there it is on your screen. This is an eBay listing. Look at that price, and that's on the cheap side. $175 for a Stanley Cup from Starbucks. Here it is. Like, look at it. It's a red Stanley Cup. It just has Starbucks on it. Anybody dying to get one of these? I just don't get it. I went to the Stanley store. There's no background on it. There's one. It's kind of cute. It just says Stanley on it. It has some like gold decoration on it. It's kind of cool. No, it's not like kind of metallic looking all the way around like the Starbucks one. But people are losing their freaking mind over it. Oh, Murphy. Oh my God. Do not tell my child about this cup. Water coffee tumblers are her obsession. Same, Murphy. Our daughters are almost the same age. High school girls. They love it. I literally went into, people spend money on anything, Ricky says. Every time I go to Starbucks with my daughter, every time she's looking at the cups. And I'm like, we're not getting another cup. It is overconsumption of something that's supposed to be reusable. Why buy so many reusable cups when you're buying so many? Like I've gotten some as gifts because people know I like my reusable cups. I would say at the most, I have a skinny Stanley. It was like $20, $25 at the grocery store. I love it. It keeps my ice cold. I don't particularly like the handle with the straw. It's annoying. And you can't throw it in your bag. I like to bring it to work or to the gym or something like that. I don't need to have a straw that if I knock it over, it spills. But yeah, everybody's on the hunt for these red Stanley Cups. There was a TikTok video I saw. Someone got up at 5 o'clock in the morning or like 4 o'clock in the morning to be there right when Starbucks opened at 5. And there was like only one. And then she drove another half an hour down the road to get the other 4 because she had to get them for all of her friends. She spent $200 on these Stanley Cups. At least she got them for, retail price. But insane what people are trying to get.
Wait,
the holidays
friend spent $200 on what?
Stanley Cup. Well, 4 Stanley Cups. Yeah, 4 Stanley Cups. She spent $200 because they're each $50.
Wow.
That's how much they normally are. Like the big ones, Stanley Cups are expensive. You'll spend like $50 on one. But they teamed up with Starbucks. And so I get like, I'm going to snap them up to sell them on eBay for a profit. I get that. It's capitalism at its finest.
You know what happens at our house is you get a really nice cup and then someone leaves it somewhere.
Yeah. Yeah, it's left somewhere.
So I'm not going to spend a lot of money on a cup when I know the chances are good it's not coming back.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I mean, you could say the same thing for like jackets. Like, I'm not
Yeah.
going to spend a lot of money on clothes. I have told you. I mean, I think I've mentioned this before. My son is he's like living in the Mark Zuckerberg kind of era with his clothing, where he wants to wear. Like, he's like, you need to buy me more black shirts. I bought this kid jeans and black shirts because that's all he wants to wear. Literally, that's his uniform: jeans and a black shirt. And so it's one of those things where, I mean, it makes it easy. You know what I mean? Like, okay, if that's what you want me to buy, but I'm not going to spend a lot of money on anything if he's not going to wear it. He has so many clothes now that he doesn't wear at all. Yeah. Hold on. Gayla says some people base their self-worth on what they have and getting the next thing that is sparkly. Not everyone, though. I love that. And the holidays are coming, and it's such a pressure to buy something that somebody's going to like. Like, I am making my list. I'm actually, because of the things that I put in my favorite box, I'm going to do some videos on some of the things that I did. And if you guys want to buy them, you can. But, these are things that I've tried. It's not something that I have 50 of in the closet. Like, what is the difference between one Stanley and another except status? I have these Starbucks. And it's just an advertisement for Starbucks, which they don't need any help doing. I just don't get it. It's too much money. If you're doing it to make money, more power to you. The economy's tough, right? People need to make some money. You want to make some extra money by driving around at the butt crack of dawn just to get some Stanley Cups, knock yourself out. But if you are doing this simply because you need to have the latest and greatest Stanley Cup, take a deep breath. There's going to be a new one any moment now. There was an article I read on a different note yesterday, and I wanted Kim McAllister's thoughts on this. It was in the Press Democrat. And I was telling Kim before the show, I was like, I don't expect you to know this guy, even though I always feel like Petaluma is so small that you should, but it's not that small of a town. Although this guy, David Furtado, he spells David with an E at the end. So maybe it's David Furtado, and his wife are described as world travelers. And they want to visit like every country on earth. And they also wanted to visit every single block in Petaluma. That was what he wanted to do. And so he did. He just finished walking every street in Petaluma. I want to get your take, and if anybody lives in Petaluma and can weigh in on this, please. So these are his favorite walks. Now you tell me he says B Street west of the boulevard.
Yes, that's pretty.
Is it pretty? So he says it's in a category of its own.
The houses
beautiful
are
homes,
really beautiful, and they're all different and interesting. It's pretty, yeah.
Kentucky Street, north of Washington. How would you describe that area?
Quaint, old town, Victorian old buildings, and fun. And you get to see all the people walking around, and it's cool.
Yeah, he says it features great examples of older but well-maintained homes and yards. Quarry Heights, above the roundabout on Petaluma Boulevard.
Very cookie cutter.
Oh, okay.
Nice neighborhood, but very, there might be 3 models of homes, and they're all
like kind of the same. Yeah.
But it's a nice area.
He said that this is a large housing complex where the Dutra rock quarry was. He says it can be a bit of a challenge, but it provides magnificent views of most of Petaluma. So
especially at night, you can see the lights all over the place. It's really pretty. Yeah.
Sunny Slope Road neighborhood is mentioned in his article, Kim.
Really? You don't say.
It is. He says it's a great place to walk.
Never been there.
With easy to walk hills, beautiful homes, and many open spaces. So that's pretty awesome, I would imagine.
That's my hood.
That's her hood. And then pardon me, the final one was.
It's also though, it's interesting because there are some areas of it that are different homes and older homes and interesting things, and then there's a huge subdivision that are again more cookie cutter, but it's an older cookie cutter, so over time people have had time to make their houses look different.
Ah,
kind
yeah.
of.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so that's Sunny Slope Road. But there's a huge green belt area that's really cool. It runs right along a creek, and there's a park there. So it's a cool neighborhood. It's very safe and it's nice.
And then the last one of his 5 favorite walks was Kings Mill area off Sonoma Mountain Parkway, because for those who prefer to walk on flat ground.
Mm.
Is Petaluma hilly?
So parts of the west side are very hilly.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Hmm.
Yeah, I was
Yeah.
wondering what was it. Okay, so now he likes the grid-like pattern of Petaluma. He was impressed by the upkeep, but there was one where he was like, uh, he expected the roads to be worse than they were, but there was
We're no,
one thing.
we're known for potholes. As
Oh,
a
you
matter of
are known
fact,
for potholes. Okay.
Clover has an ice cream called, I think it's Petaluma Pothole,
Mm-hmm.
which is like a rocky road ice cream. Yeah,
Right.
there's even ice cream named after how bad the roads are here. They've really made an effort to go around and fix them, so it's not as bad as it used to be.
Oh, that's good. That's
Hmm.
good. Yeah. So he said he was intrigued by the differences between West and East Petaluma.
Very
Uh,
different.
he said the east side streets were easier to cover, but they were more, he said, bereft of people, with residents more often driving to their
Hmm.
destinations. The west side, with its winding streets, trickier to navigate, but he engaged with more people.
Yeah, I would agree.
He said he was impressed by the upkeep. He did feel that some areas needed work, and this was the area that he said. And I was like, I don't know how people would feel about calling out this specific area. Steamer Landing, he said, had a lot of people and a lot of trash.
Mm.
Do you agree?
Yeah, I do.
Oh.
Steamer Landing has some beautiful homes,
Hmm.
and the people that live there are really cool. But it's also right along the Petaluma River, and in the recent years, homeless people have taken up residence in some areas, and there's a homeless shelter. The Petaluma People Services Center or something that's
Okay.
in this area. And so you get people that you know, are wandering around or setting up tents or whatever. And so, like any city, Petaluma
Yeah.
is not immune to what's going on in the world. So, on both sides of the river, unfortunately, you have a bit of an issue with that. Yeah.
Yeah, and the last one that he said that still needs a little bit of work is McDowell Boulevard. So he said, yeah, it's undergone improvements, but was still pretty rough when he walked it. The roads could be worse, but everybody complains about the roads in
Hmm.
Petaluma. The reason why I wanted to bring this up is I feel like when people criticize, and I know that it's not your hometown, but like where you've lived for a very long time,
Hmm.
I would get defensive. You know what I mean? I'm like, but I like that you were fair about it. And again, after Kim's headlines, we'll talk a little bit about APEC and just being on the national stage and having people look at your town closely, and not just in headlines, like actually go to your town, walk the
Hmm.
streets, visit the places, because a lot of people can just judge a place they've never been simply by the headlines. And is that fair? And I'm glad that you agreed kind of with his assessment, because I was really curious on whether or not he was off base or not. So
Yeah, I think
that's pretty cool.
you got it pretty right, I
Yeah.
think. Yeah.
Okay, good. Okay. Am I being apparently I'm a little loud. Am I a little loud for you people? Joe's saying I am a little loud,
A
or
little
Kim's a
bit.
little low. Okay, let me
A
lower
little
my
bit.
volume.
Maybe it's me. Maybe I'm the one.
Well, let's do some headlines.
Okay.
When we come back, we will, and I'm sure it'll be in the headlines as well. We'll update, of course, what's happening in Washington D.C. We will, of course, touch on a little bit of Trump. Also, we have to touch on the U.S. Supreme Court's, I'm going to put it in quotes, code of conduct. Give me a break. That's all coming up. Again, click the thumbs up button. Show your support for the show. A big thanks to Doug coming in with the first $5 super sticker of today's
Woohoo!
show. Thank you guys. Please consider donating to the super chat or become a Medorable and become a monthly Patreon subscriber. But let's do some headlines. Let me get it up first with Kim.
Now, from around the world to up your street, the Nikki Medoro Show presents News Czar Kim McAllister.
Well, officials in Gaza City are warning that hospitals are effectively inoperable, with about 3,500 people stuck inside the largest hospital in the region as it is surrounded by troops and tanks. Meanwhile, sirens have been heard in southern Israel as warnings of possible incoming airstrikes from Hamas are happening there. Several National Guard units will assist D.C. police with today's March for Israel rally on the National Mall. D.C. Mayor Muriel Bowser told reporters yesterday the National Guard will be deployed at certain traffic safety points, redirecting vehicles and blocking intersections. About 60,000 people are expected for today's rally, which is scheduled to begin at 1 o'clock Eastern. House Speaker Mike Johnson very confident in his plan to avert a government shutdown by the end of the week. Johnson's plan would fund some government agencies until mid-January and the rest through early February at current spending levels. But a group of Republican hardliners say they will vote against this bill due to the lack of spending cuts and conservative policy changes. Johnson will instead have to rely on support from Democrats. And
Yeah.
won't that be interesting to see
I
how
don't
that
know.
plays out?
Yeah, I don't know if that's going to work for him. Now, the Freedom Caucus requires support from 80% of the group, which is about 36 members. Now, they're not unified in their opposition, apparently. One member, Andy Harris, actually helped create this two-tiered stopgap funding plan, whatever. And he says that it's the best way to avert a massive omnibus funding package pushed by the Senate, and of course allows Congress more time to negotiate on funding for 2024. We can't keep doing this. We cannot keep doing this. We pay our bills. We figure it out. We can't hold the entire country hostage, but they have to do something. We talked about this yesterday. I mean, if we don't do anything next week, Thanksgiving, like huge amount of travelers and TSA and all kinds of people are going to be working with no pay. It's going to be an S show. And so hopefully they can get it together.
Okay. The federal government is releasing the first immigration statistics of the fiscal year. October saw an overall decrease in arrests along the southwest border. The head of Customs Border Protection credits the removal of flights to Venezuela, actually.
Now, let me ask you a question real quickly. I feel like Republicans, especially because they always call out Democrats for doing nothing about the border, right? If arrests are down, they're like, look, you're not arresting anybody. And when arrests are up, they're like, look how many people you're letting into the country. Like, you can't win for lose with this argument. You know what I mean? Like, is it a good thing when the arrests go down or a bad thing when the arrests go down?
I mean, it just depends on your perspective, I guess.
Right.
If you don't want anyone coming in, then you'll be like, arrest them all.
Right. But then if you are arresting them, they're like, well, look how many people you're bringing in. It's really kind of catch-22 for Democrats. They cannot win on this issue at all with Republicans.
Meta is rolling out a highly requested feature for its Threads app. Users are now able to delete their Threads account without also getting rid of their Instagram profile. Haha, see, they were tied together. Threads was launched in July. It was initially touted as a Twitter killer after seeing record-breaking sign-up numbers. So people signed up and then they didn't use it, is what happened there. The world's best and brightest flocking to several countries as the U.S. isn't the top one, apparently. Switzerland takes top spot for the smartest, most talented people, according to the 2023 Global Talent Competitiveness Index. That's done by the business school INSEAD. Singapore came in second place thanks to its highly educated labor force and innovative economy, followed by the United States. We're third best. What?
Woo!
Come on.
Exactly right.
New consumer price numbers show inflation is cooling. The Labor Department says the consumer price index was flat in October, while most economists expected a slight rise. The core CPI, which includes food and energy, rose 0.2% for the month. The NBA and auction house Sotheby's are giving basketball fans the chance to own a game-worn jersey from their favorite players. Among them, the jersey worn by rookie sensation Victor Wembanyama in his debut game with the San Antonio Spurs. That jersey is expected to sell for between $80,000 and $120,000.
Wow.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah, if you have the money, I guess that's where you could spend
it. Okay, lastly, if you're looking up tonight, you might have the chance to catch a peek at one of the most distant planets in our solar system. Thanks to November's new moon and the fact that you say Uranus or Uranus?
Uranus. Come on. Everybody says Uranus. Let's just say it.
I'm going to say it the British way. Thanks to November's new moon and the fact that Uranus is in the opposite The ice giant should be visible overnight. Being nearly 2 billion miles from Earth, the seventh planet from the sun will still require a telescope to view in detail.
That's kind of cool, though. Yeah.
Yeah.
We don't have a telescope here. Do you have a telescope at your house?
We do not.
I know. Oh, well.
You'd think with this family would be a bunch of nerds.
Yeah, I was expecting you to say yes. I don't have one. So
No,
if
we don't
anybody
have one either.
checks it out, do it. There you go.
I was going to buy one, especially because Jacob wants to be an astronomer. And
Oh.
I asked Professor Fracknoy
Mhm.
what the best one to buy for kids was, and he's like, I don't have an answer. They're all fine. So then I just I put my search on hold. I'm like, well, that doesn't help me any. Thanks a lot, Professor Fracknoy.
You want to know the funniest story? Every time somebody mentions getting a telescope, I always remember this one time. So my dad's dad like passed away a long time ago, but I remember one time he came out and visited us when we were kids. And we were old enough. I want to say like tween ages, right?
Mhm.
And I remember he took us to, I don't know if it was Best or Toys R Us. It was one of those that has like a huge toy area. And he literally looked at us and he says, you can get one thing, anything you want in this whole store. Anything you want. And so, of course, I got like a Cabbage Patch Kid or something, right? I was like, I was of that age. I mean, so maybe I was a little bit younger. And my brother, and we still tease him, he totally choked. Like, my brother's not into astronomy at all. And he's like, I don't know what to get. And he like, I think it was just too many options for the poor kid. And he got a telescope. And we have teased him about that to this day. We're like, you blew it. Like, not that a telescope's a bad thing, like, but it just, you can have any toy in this entire store of things that you actually want and play with and like have a history of liking. And he chose a telescope. Do you think he actually learned any? No, he failed. That thing collected dust in his room. Yeah, I know. He should have used it since he obviously used his wish, right? Every kid's wish to get anything they want out of the whole store. But yeah, he totally blew it. I was like, nice telescope.
That's so funny. The cheap telescopes that we have gotten have just been junk and not really been able to be used. So,
and I think that's probably what he purchased too, since he was at like a toy store or something like that. But if you were really, I mean, if you get a good telescope, the things you can see obviously are fascinating, you know? So
yeah. Maybe that's what Santa's bringing for Christmas. I don't know. We'll find out.
Maybe. There you
Although
go.
I don't know if Santa can afford a really nice telescope. Those are really expensive. Some of them.
Yeah, but I mean, if your kid was interested in it, you know what I mean? Like if your kid was really, really interested in it, I could see it being
He's
a
always
good
been
gift.
interested in that. He's never been interested in like, the typical boy things like dinosaurs or
Right.
train tracks or, any of that or baseball. He's always been interested in planets and the solar system.
That is really cool. That's a cool thing. And Calvin says there's a telescope that can link to your phone to find. I know that there's an app where if you hold up your phone to the sky, like it's not a telescope, that you can see, the constellations and things
Google
like that.
Universe or something.
Or something like that. Yeah, there's a bunch of different ones. Sky
That's fun.
View or
I like
that's
that.
a cool one. Yeah.
This report is crowdfunded, which means we rely on you for the telescope. So that you know how that goes. Merry Christmas. No, but we do rely on you to crowdfund the show. You can find us at thenikkimedoroshow.com. And we are Patreon subscribers and PayPal folks. We couldn't be any more thankful. I know we call out the people that are contributing through Super Sticker a lot because it's instant and it's in the moment. But you guys are the backbone of the show.
Yes,
a consistent contribution every month, and we just couldn't do this without you. So grateful. TheNikkiMedoroShow.com. TheNikkiMedoroShow.com is where we are and where all the links to all those things live. I'm Kim McAllister. This is the amazing, the incredible, the gorgeous Nikki Medoro Show.
Oh, look at all the adjectives describing me today.
I'm feeling pretty happy today.
You're
It's a good one.
You're showing me the love. I love it. I love it. I love it. Okay, I'm loving this video. Now, unfortunately, actually, I wish there was more video, but I'm loving the story. How about that? So, this congressman, Tim Burchett, has quite the tale. Now, things are just getting heated, right? I mean, former House Speaker Kevin McCarthy, probably pretty bitter, sour like the lemon type of thing of being ousted. I don't know what his political future is, but he's a total jackass. And this isn't surprising to anybody that knows Kevin McCarthy, has been following Kevin McCarthy or whatever. But again, this is Republican on Republican hate. So I just love to see it because they're imploding and tensions are high because of the possible shutdown of the government. So here is Tim Burchett. Now he's being interviewed by CNN's Manu Raju, but he's telling a story of something that happened with a different reporter. And unfortunately, I haven't, at least before the show, been able to find said video of this happening. Here we go.
I was doing an interview with Claudia from NPR, a lovely lady, and when she was asking me a question, and at that time I got elbowed in the back, and it kind of caught me off guard because it was a clean shot to the kidneys, and I turned back, and there was Kevin, and I for a minute I was kind of, what the heck just happened? And then I chased after him. Of course, he's as I've stated many times, he's a bully with $17 million in a security detail.
Burn. So now I want you to understand what he just said, because Claudia with NPR posted this on Twitter, which is where I originally saw it. And he ripped off, like he was being, interviewed, like off the microphone, like he took off this guy after Kevin McCarthy, after getting elbowed.
He's the type of guy that when you're a kid would throw a rock over the fence and run home and hide behind his mama's skirt. And he just, he from behind, that kind of stuff. That's not the way we handle things in East Tennessee. If we have a problem with somebody, I'm going to look them in the eye.
Punch him out.
Okay, so he walked down the hallway, hit you with his elbow.
Yeah, you can go on Claudia's Twitter account. It pretty much, or X account. It's very accurate.
Okay, so then just explain. So you chased him? What do you mean you chased him?
I just ran after him. I was like, what the heck? Why'd you do that? Because it was like I said, if you've ever been hit in the kidneys, it's a little different. You don't have to hit very hard to cause a little bit of pain, a lot of pain. And so he just, of course, as he always does, he just denies it or blames somebody else or something, and it was just a little heated, but I just backed off because I saw no reason. I wasn't gaining anything from it. And then everybody saw it, so it didn't really matter.
Like he responded to you?
Yeah, he just acted like, what are you talking about? Who are you to, that kind of thing. And it's just, I think that's symptomatic of the problems that he's had in his short tenure as speaker.
And were you?
So that's Kevin McCarthy being Kevin McCarthy, which is a total asshat. Kevin, I have to, I understand a little bit about the ego hit, right? Absolutely. All of it square. People should send him bags of elbow macaroni. That's really funny. He's ineffectual. Kevin McCarthy, obviously a failed speaker for the heartbeat that he was speaker. And so I can understand it. Like, I get it. I get how upset he probably is. But you do not, when a person is being interviewed. Now, of course, it's NPR, so audio, not visual. Can you imagine if that happened in front of Manu Raju, though? I mean, it's just absolutely ridiculous. And it's not going to win him any favors. Do you think he's making any sort of points with conservatives for elbowing another conservative in the back? For what? Just because he voted for your ouster? I mean, I guess you could be that sensitive. I guess. But that's of course, Kevin McCarthy's MO. Speaking of losing, Truth Social, that platform has reportedly lost $73 million since launching.
Sorry. Not sorry
at all. It according to the Hollywood Reporter, they reviewed the financial disclosures from Trump Media and Technology Group, which is behind Truth Social. As the merger with Digital World Acquisition Corporation remains stalled, the form shows that Truth Social lost $50 million on $1.4 million of net sales last year and lost $23 million this year against the $2.3 million it brought in. And I can only imagine that the $2.3 million it brought in is a total scam and people don't even want to give Truth Social their money. It's lost, it appears to have brought in $3.7 million in net revenue, but that's compared to a loss of $73 million. And it looks bleak. Some people are saying its days are numbered as a social media platform. I maintain nobody needed it. It was an ego boost for Trump, and it's nothing that anybody was asking for. And Trump's an idiot. He needed his own attention. He kept saying, I could create a better social media company where there's no rules. When you have no rules, you're just, bathing in a cesspool of conspiracy theorists that nobody wants to hang out with.
I wonder how many users they have. Does it say?
It doesn't say in the article that I'm looking at. That's a good question. Yeah, it's anybody on Truth Social? I mean, I know some people are like, I wanted to see what's going on as research. I would never in a million years give any of my information to Truth Social. Thank you, Marilyn, for the $5 super sticker. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Yeah, I just can't. Again, Trump is off his rocker. And now there's all these videos coming out with Jenna Ellis and Sidney Powell, both former Trump aides, very close in the workings of this whole nonsense surrounding the last election. They offered their proffer videos, which is kind of evidence to support what people are saying. Let's start with Jenna Ellis. We saw her, of course. She pleaded guilty.
I was watching this video last night, and I almost
Of
hit
Jenna
the floor.
Ellis?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And again, nothing should surprise you. This shouldn't surprise you. Oh, that's not the one I wanted. I wanted the other one because, and again, and then I'll also show you Sidney Powell's video. Because again, it's, I don't know. It must be the ego of some of these people, that why they kept, the lie, the conspiracy. Here's Jenna Ellis's video.
At the time period where they were going to start to discuss what was Dan Scavino's role.
At the time, I believe his title was social media director for the White House. It became deputy chief of staff at the time that the conversation in question took place.
Okay, and when was that?
The conversation was around December 19th of 2020 at the White House Christmas party. And I emphasized him. I thought that the claims and the ability to challenge the election results was essentially over, because he said to me in a kind of excited tone, well, we don't care and we're not going to leave. And I said, what do you mean? And he said, well, the boss, meaning President Trump, and everyone understood the boss. That's what we all called him. He said the boss is not going to leave under any circumstances. We are just going to stay in power. And I said to him, well, it doesn't quite work that way, you realize. And he said, we don't care.
We don't care. They don't care. They don't care. And I'll have a video after this.
He was going to stay in power.
Well,
he was going to not leave the White House. That was their plan. Are you kidding me?
I mean, that was what he was always trying to have people say. And that is what led to January 6th.
We're thinking of letting him anywhere near the White House again?
Thank you.
What in the ever-loving expletive, all of the F words in the entire universe are we absolutely thinking? Come
exactly.
on.
And again, every time we watch these videos, and I'll have one of Mike Thompson after the Sidney Powell one, this whole idea, every time a Republican, I'm going to say Republican, mentions or says the words irregularities in the last election, tell them, why are there only irregularities when you're talking about races you lost?
Mm-hmm.
Why are you not questioning the Republican wins in any of these states? And I want the answer to that. Now, here's Sidney Powell. It's just, this is so good.
Ms. Powell, were you ever around when anyone told Donald Trump that he had lost the election?
Oh, yeah.
Who?
Everybody.
Pat Cipollone, Eric Hirschman, Derek Lyons, all thought he'd lost.
Was that in the December 18th meeting?
Yes.
What was President Trump's reaction when, I guess, this cadre of advisors would say you lost?
It was like, they would say that and then they'd walk out and he'd go, see, this is what I deal with all the time. He was specifically willing to appoint me special counsel. In fact, he looked over at Cipollone 3 different times and said, do I have the authority to name her special counsel? And Cipollone said, yes, you do. And then somebody said, well, she doesn't have a security clearance. So he looked at Cipollone and he said, do I have the authority to give her a security clearance? And Cipollone said, yes, you do. And then about the 3rd time we went through that scenario, Cipollone, I think, said, you can name her anything you want, Mr. President, and nobody's going to pay a bit of attention to it.
And then apparently she had called Cipollone the next day. She's like, so when do I get my badge? And he just laughed. He's like, that's not going to happen. Like, think about this. The people closest to because he was still president, the president of the United States are laughing at him. They're like, yeah, you can do whatever you want, but it's not going to happen. Like, they knew the truth. It's a delusion. And that is why That is why it really concerns me when people just continue to start acting like it's sane to have him back in the White House. Just like you said, Kim, what are you talking about? What are you talking about leaving or letting former President Trump do this again?
That's
It
not how
makes no sense.
That's not how we do business in America.
No.
That's not how our system of government functions. And that's not what our Constitution says. And he took an oath. I know he didn't mean it. I know he didn't care. But he took an oath to preserve,
Exactly.
protect, and defend the Constitution of the United States. You think someone who did that would actually know how it works?
Right.
You can't do that. You are undermining America. And all these people that want to vote for him to get back in the White House,
right?
You're un-American too. Get out. Go somewhere else. If you don't believe in America, don't belong here. Don't live here. You suck.
Can we put that? Can we put that on a billboard, please?
Please.
So now, Mike Johnson, again, current House Speaker, he's another person that I'm extremely worried about, because here's the thing: when you have somebody as House Speaker who is willing to just lie and say things and support things that he knows are not true. I'm going to play you a little bit of this interview that he gave regarding, it's as if people want to create a scenario where the delusional president is still okay to lead, and it's not okay. Let me make sure the volume's up there. There we go.
To trust.
Listen to this.
Well, listen, there are a lot of people in Washington who say things that are not accurate all the time.
Dang.
Everybody does. We're all human. But I'll say this about President Trump with regard to the election and what he believes about that. That is deep in his heart. I mean, I've talked to him personally about it. Many of us have. And over the years, you've heard him say repeatedly over and over the same refrain, that he just felt like he was cheated in that election. And I think that's a core conviction of his. And when I say we should take him at his word on that, he believes it.
Yes, take him at his word that he's freaking delusional.
I don't know what comment you're talking about in this article, but I know that he has been absolutely consistent from day one.
With his delusion.
And, he does believe in the rule of law.
No.
I mean, look at what he did on the U.S. Supreme Court, for example. He gave us great justices that are restoring the integrity of that institution, in my view.
What?
We had, of course, many judges throughout the system that he appointed, and that's the longest lasting legacy of any
Speaker,
president.
you're talking about the rule
So
of
he has
law.
a good record on that.
You're talking about the rule of law, and he's now been indicted, on 40 different charges. There's such a juxtaposition behind the idea of rule of law and then things that he's done that may very well have broken the law.
Yes.
And I recognize
Listen,
that there's elements of it that may be political. I'm not even going to dismiss that, but I'll stipulate with you that there are elements that are probably true that are political, but not all of them.
Not all of them.
Listen, I think this is motivated by political prosecutions, and we call it lawfare. That's what it is. It's just another way to go after a candidate. And what's happened to President Trump is unprecedented.
Because he's
and
an
every
ass.
time a new indictment drops, it follows after some favorable thing that he gets in the poll or in the election or whatever.
Stop it.
I know,
Everybody
right?
can see this with their own two eyes. And I think the American people can evaluate that for what it is. You have.
So, and again, he's talking out both sides of his mouth, this Mike Johnson guy. It's absolutely ridiculous for him to say, because former President Trump believes in his heart of hearts that he was robbed, then what? We just tell him? We tell the crazy person that it's okay, you're right? I mean, is that the world we're supposed to freaking live in? Is that, because you choose to believe in things that aren't true, we now have to believe in things that are not true?
Or how about this? It's okay that he's spreading lies and misinformation because he actually believes it.
Yeah, like that is your argument? It is so insane. It is absolutely insane. And he says it with a straight face. And that is what is dangerous about the Republican Party. They do not speak truth to power. Look, if he could have proven it, he would have. He would have. Remember I talked last week? Well, 1,100 something days after the election, Trump said he was going to have proof that it was stolen in a few months. He's full of crap. And I can't believe there's so many people that are still buying it. It blows my mind. And people are like, it's never happened before with any other president. We've never had somebody like this. We've never had somebody so delusional in the White House and so many other people supporting the delusion. It's insane.
We've had racists. We've had some horrible people. We had, people that stirred up trouble and helped further a civil war.
Exactly.
But we
But
haven't had
this,
anything quite like this.
and
I
it's
love
so
what Calvin
crazy.
says.
Mm.
This is the scariest part about that interview.
Mm-hmm.
That yes, he is delusional and is in line to the presidency. Right?
Yeah,
Mike Johnson
exactly.
is what? Two heartbeats away.
2 heartbeats away. Exactly. Exactly.
That's what we're looking at, people. That's
Right.
America.
And that's your Republican Party. That's your Republican Party. And it's ridiculous. And there needs to be a check and balance on this. And unfortunately, he mentions the U.S. Supreme Court. The U.S. Supreme Court that has this now code of conduct that, according this one thing made an excellent point. The thing that it's missing is any sort of consequence if you don't. That there is no point. And we've seen this with Trump and what he's done and what he hasn't done, and the kind of the code and what is proper and what is allowed in past years for presidents and the Supreme Court and everyone to do. The U.S. Supreme Court has set out a code of conduct, but they forgot one very important word. And that, of course, is the word shall. They said that if there was any sort of, problem, yes, anything like that, that they should recuse themselves, not shall recuse themselves. Why do you think the U.S. Supreme Court, which is very much in the business of looking over every freaking word of law, wouldn't use the word shall? It's because it's all for freaking show.
You know what else is interesting about it? And yes, it is all for show. Is there's no penalty if you mess up.
Yeah.
So you could mess up again and just say, "Oh, well, my bad. I'm sorry." And there's no like you must lose your seat or you have to pay a big fine or there's no repercussion for you, no consequence.
Yeah.
Moms
exactly.
know that's not going to work.
No.
And also, there's no one to police it. There's
Right.
no, no one's looking at it. There's no authority who's, scrutinizing your moves saying, aha, what you've done here is, taken money for a giant rolling mansion, and that's not okay, Clarence Thomas. Nobody is set. No, there's no one to look out for that except for the United States media. And that's the reason that we know about all this in the first
Right.
place.
Exactly.
Trump said the other day, the press is the enemy of the people. Really? Because
No.
the press uncovered all this ethical crap with the Supreme Court. We know now that they're not as up on a pedestal as we may have thought they once were.
Right. Exactly. I just feel like it's a bit rich. So they compared the differences between what other judges have to do, right? So here's a judge shall disqualify himself or herself in a proceeding in which the judge's impartiality might reasonably be questioned. But the same thing for the Supreme Court says they should disqualify themselves in which the justice's impartiality might reasonably be questioned. I don't know how we're supposed to have faith in the highest court in the land if we don't have any sort of check on the highest court in the land. Now, I understand who checks it, right? Who makes that decision? Well, I guess the policing should be within the Supreme Court. I mean, it's the highest court in the land. Now, unfortunately, obviously, when you have, when a court leans either way, whether it's liberal or conservative, which in all honesty, I hate the fact that we describe it that way. That in and of itself is a huge problem. But the judges are going to have to kind of be like, okay, you need to recuse yourself from this case. I don't know how we do it. Because we've never had to cross this bridge before, but I feel like we've been heading here for so long. This isn't new. We have been hearing the whole idea of, politicizing the court for a long time. But I think with the overturning of Roe v. Wade and the re-examining of things that we thought were the rule of law and weren't, the fact that we have former President Trump who appointed so many of these justices and that we don't trust them, the things that have come out about Clarence Thomas, about Clarence Thomas's wife, all these sorts of things, it just begs the question of, was this check ever really balanced? And it sucks. It really, really sucks. And I don't know what the answer is. I just don't think that this quote unquote code of conduct is in any way, shape, or form the answer to the problems that many people have with the Supreme Court. And it sucks. In all honesty, it really, really sucks. And does that mean that we should be adding more people to the U.S. Supreme Court? I don't personally think that's the answer, because then every political party, when they're in office, is going to do the exact same thing. When is it going to stop, right? I mean, when is it going to be reasonable? When are the arguments going to be made, and the debate that happens within the Supreme Court on rules and laws? Is it going to be even feasible to do something like that if you have, and I'm just going to throw out a number, 25 U.S. Supreme Court justices? Now, maybe more people makes it, a little more balanced. I don't know. I don't know, honestly, what the answer is, but that code of conduct was laughable. When I saw the headline and then I read it more, I was like, well, that's toothless. That's the word that they've been using. And it's absolutely correct. Okay, let's switch gears and bring things a little bit closer to home. You know what they say, we've been talking about how APEC has been, putting the eyes of the world on San Francisco. And unfortunately, San Francisco lived up to its bad reputation. Did you hear there was a Czech TV journalist who was, taking some iconic pictures of being in San Francisco? He was at San Francisco's iconic City Lights bookstore. It was dusk, the sunshine, was peeking through type of thing, when 3 masked assailants approached with guns pointed. Bahumil Vostal said they were heading at my camera, aiming a gun at my stomach and one at my head. He was among hundreds of international correspondents who have been in San Francisco for APEC. But after the 3 armed perpetrators confronted him and his cameraman on Columbus Avenue, and they stole $18,000 worth of equipment and all the previous footage, he told the Chronicle he feels shattered. He says, I'm one of those many people who used to read Jack Kerouac's On the Road, and I was so much looking forward to visiting your city. But unfortunately, the bad part of San Francisco lived up to its reputation, and they got robbed. Now, of course, this is outside the perimeter. Like, didn't happen inside the perimeter where there's all sorts of, people. But it is quite disappointing, right? I mean, it's very disappointing
No, this is
that this
common.
happened. And
This
of
is
course,
very
Bree comes
common.
out and she's like, we're going to really try to help you, blah, blah, blah. They were scrambling to get more footage because they had great footage from the day before or whatever. It sucks. It really, really sucks. But I'm not surprised. I'm really not surprised.
No, this is very common. Very common.
Yeah, and
Bay Area TV crews know this. They have security with them, and even
with the security, though,
even those with security, we saw a security person get shot.
Oh God, yeah,
Right?
exactly.
Remember
That last year or the year before, or something like that, right?
Almost
So yeah,
every station has had major equipment stolen.
Absolutely.
They started putting trackers in the equipment. If you're on a street in San Francisco, possibly Oakland as well, the chances are pretty good that someone's going to come along and try to take your stuff at gunpoint.
Oh, absolutely. And what's sad about it is you don't want it to obviously you don't want it to happen. But how do you guard against something like that, right? I mean, how do you can't protect every single journalist all across San Francisco, unfortunately. You just can't do that. You just wish that people wouldn't do those sorts of things. And it seems like such a new type of crime. It's like people can't, journalists can't do their jobs. They can't stand out there with a camera and a microphone anymore. It's ridiculous. And I wish there was a way of tracking these sorts of things and doing that. But when you're coming from out of the country, I'm sure they knew the headlines, but it's
embarrassing. I'm embarrassed.
It's embarrassing. Yeah, exactly.
I'm very embarrassed that happened to them. I'm very sorry that happened to them.
Yeah,
Here in the Bay Area, we know it. We deal with it. This is our community. We get it. Right?
But you know that's going to be a headline, with them and their whole crew. They're going to go home and they're going to say, yeah, we went to San Francisco, but we got robbed at gunpoint for our equipment. We were just doing our job. And I know you guys got mad at me for yelling at the guy in the Big Lot store that was stealing things, but people should be ashamed of themselves. It's one of those moments where I stand there and I wish that I was there and I'm like, you're the problem. When people say this city or this state or this country is going to hell in a handbasket, it's because of people like you. And I know that seems harsh, but it is. It's bull crap that I have to steal to feed my family. You're stealing that camera to get money to do whatever the hell you want to do. And it's total BS. And I just hate it. It bothers me to no end because I know there are way more good people in San Francisco, the Bay Area, California, and the country. But people like this that will rob people at gunpoint. So what are you saying? You're going to kill me for a camera? That's how low of a scumbucket you are that you would do something like that. Gets my blood going. It pisses me off to no end. Oh
Yes,
yeah,
you
and Jim,
did.
I remember that. Yeah, Jefferson Graham got hit in San Francisco as well. It's scary. And we shouldn't have to live like that. We just absolutely shouldn't live like that. But again, you can't change the mentality of people overnight. You have to nab them. You have to punish them. And that's it, because police cannot be everywhere all at once. And then finally, one last story, one last video before Kim's headlines, and that has to do with the I-10 fire. Governor Newsom made this announcement during a press conference yesterday.
And they made a determination, a preliminary determination. There was malice intent, that this fire occurred within the fence line of the facility you see behind me, that it was arson, and that it was done in set intention. That determination of who is responsible is an investigation that is ongoing. And that's an investigation that can be aided by the people of the region, not just those that may have been witnesses nearby. Those that are witnesses potentially nearby have already been contacted. We have some preliminary tips as it relates to the prospects of determining precisely who
You use so many words.
Individuals may be.
I love Newsom, but it's like, I swear to God, he must add 15 words to every sentence that he says. Like, we get it. We're working on tips. We're talking to people that were there. We could use more information. That's all you need to say, Newsom. I swear, if he ever becomes president, press conferences are going to last like 5 freaking hours.
It's true.
I mean, my God.
Remember every day during COVID when he came out with a COVID update? And it was like, we'd schedule an hour.
Oh,
and
God,
it would go like
so
a 2
long.
hours. God.
Oh yeah, he's dyslexic, and so he doesn't ever write out his scripts or anything like that. So but he always, I feel like there's an SNL skit always there where he's like adding all these random words. Like, you don't need to, but I feel like it's a crutch for him because he's trying to remember what he's going to say.
Meet the moment.
Exactly.
We're gonna meet the moment.
But apparently, back to the fire, there was sanitizer that people had collected during COVID-19, and it was under there, and that's what maybe sparked this massive fire. That's a great idea. Let's have sanitizer around pallets, and let's have a fire there. So does this change your thinking about, I mean, not saying that it wasn't a homeless person that did it. We don't know who did it or anything like that, but I don't understand why anybody would purposely want to burn down the I-10. I don't. But then I don't understand arsonists. So maybe they just wanted to see the beauty of the flames of it all, or whatever arsonists get off on when they do stuff like that. But again, it's a mess down there. It's literally, they're calling it a crisis. They're urging people not to go to work. Don't even bother going to work. And so we'll see how long it takes to fix. Okay, we're going to do some more headlines. We'll lighten things up when we come. Well, kind of. We'll do a little bit of celebrity news, both from the sports world and Hollywood. And a few other things. And then at 10:45-ish, Emily Hoven with the San Francisco Chronicle will be joining us. And we're going to talk briefly about the editorial board's opinion regarding California's insurance market. They call it a ticking time bomb. And I want to ask Emily, what are we doing wrong? I mean, is it the insurance commissioner's fault? Straight up, that's going to be my first question. Is it the insurance commissioner's fault that we're in the situation that we are? Did we go too far in protecting the consumer that businesses are like, well, then screw you then? So that's kind of this balance that I think we need to reach, because we're completely out of whack. And we've been lucky. We were really lucky this year with the fire season so far. But, our luck is definitely going to run out with what we know about, drought and dry conditions and wildfires and PG&E in this state. All right, you guys, click the thumbs up button. Show your support for the show. Don't forget to do it every single show. And here's Kim with some headlines.
Now, from around the world to up your street, the Nikki Medoro Show presents News Czar Kim McAllister.
President Biden is just hours away from arriving in San Francisco. He will be here until Friday for the Asia Pacific Economic Cooperation Summit, known as APEC, Today, he'll host representatives from 21 member economies and then attend a fundraising dinner. Tomorrow, the eyes of the world will watch his meeting with China's president. And then Thursday, he'll give a speech to the top CEOs. Security, obviously, at the highest level, as more than 20,000 people are expected to attend this summit. Speaking of that, the commute around San Francisco is about to get a whole lot worse. Today is when the bulk of the road closures begin for the APEC summit. Most of the events are happening at the Moscone Center, where the streets are blocked off starting tonight. Caltrans is also closing one lane in each direction on the Bay Bridge and the Vista Point off-ramp on Highway 101 as well. The north end of the Golden Gate Bridge pedestrian path will also be closed off in addition. So a lot going on.
Yeah.
The trial resumes today in the case of the man accused of attacking then House Speaker Nancy Pelosi's husband with a hammer in their San Francisco home. In federal court yesterday, Paul Pelosi called the October 2022 attack brutal, said he remembers waking up in a pool of blood. David DePape was pled not guilty to all the charges in connection with that attack. The income of a typical home buyer in the United States surged last year as home affordability worsened. According to an annual report from the National Association of Realtors, typical home buyers now need $107,000. That's up from $88,000 in last year. The 22% jump, the highest annual increase on record, and it puts homeownership out of reach for many families in the U.S., where the median income is about $75,000.
Isn't that
according
insane?
to the Census Bureau. Yeah.
I mean, not that you could buy anything in California if you make by yourself, if you make 75. I mean, well, do you think there's anywhere in California where you can earn by yourself, not in a spouse kind of relationship, $75,000 and afford a home without being extremely house poor?
Here's the problem. The places where you can't afford a home then, like I'm going to throw out some cities that I'm guessing. Maybe Modesto, maybe Bakersfield,
maybe, right?
Maybe somewhere like.
But that's still like
far
$300,000. I can't imagine any place. Maybe
The
I'm
problem
wrong. I
is
don't
you
know.
get a job, you move to those places to afford a home, but the jobs that pay are not
far
there.
away. Exactly. And that's what we need to
So,
fix.
Today,
Mm-hmm.
the nearly 160,000 members of SAG-AFTRA are voting on the terms of a tentative new 3-year contract. This deal reached last Wednesday ended the actors' 118-day strike against major Hollywood studios and streaming companies. The voting is expected to last through the first week of December. So, I don't know
Well,
if you saw,
hopefully. Let's
Justine
keep our fingers
Bateman
crossed.
said, if you like your
Yes.
job, you're not going to vote for this, right?
Yeah, she was not happy with what the whole AI deal was. She thinks that there's the best way I can describe it is too many holes that allow production companies to basically have your image in perpetuity. And she didn't like it at all. But yeah, I think the devil's in the details. She's seen it. She said she was going to go over it line by line so people that follow her would understand why she was so opposed to it.
A United Airlines flight made an emergency landing in San Francisco last night. Why? Because a passenger made some type of bomb threat while the plane was in the sky.
That's crazy. What would you do? What would you do if you were on an airplane and someone's like, I have a bomb? Besides soil your
face.
So the bomb goes off. Thanks, Kim McAllister.
Sock him right in the face. Right in the pow. Right in the kisser.
I love
Idiot.
it.
The plane had left Los Angeles. It was headed to Canada. It was almost to Oregon before it turned around. Investigators spent if it was almost to Oregon, why would it come all the way back to SFO? Like, why not land at some smaller airstrip?
Yeah, or it's in the middle of nowhere or something, you know?
God. So investigators spent time talking to some of the 148 passengers and 8 crew members aboard as they waited to continue on with their flight. That's just crazy. You know, that's the thing. We have to share the roads and share the skies with strangers, and we don't know who we're sharing with.
Well,
There's
yeah,
some crazy
exactly.
people that are nutso all over the place. Preparations are right.
Nutsos all over the place.
And we have to trust that everything's okay.
Yes, you have to trust, Kim. Sorry, you have to trust.
Sorry, I don't trust.
No.
Preparations are underway as major storms hit this morning, especially in San Jose. You see the rain yet?
No, we have no rain in San Jose. We're
Are
not
you
getting
kidding me?
We're not getting any rain.
Well, rain is mainly supposed to affect the North Bay today and then move across the entire Bay Area tomorrow through Friday. San Jose, only one city bracing for the big soaking. Officials have been clearing storm drains of leaves and debris, inspecting pump stations, and Mayor Matt Mahan says crews will be available 24/7 to respond to flooding and other hazards.
Well, we're not getting anything out of this storm. Maybe they say, hold on, let me check my phone.
Half an inch, maybe?
Maybe that, but let's see. So they're thinking a better chance is possibly Friday. So supposedly, according to my phone, San Jose should get rain tomorrow in 60% of the city, Friday and Saturday in 70% of the city. So we'll see. Of course, Saturday is the day that I'm freaking driving to San Francisco, and it's supposed to rain. Fabulous.
Oh,
well.
of course it is. Of course it is.
Of course.
It's always
Boo.
the day you have to drive to San Francisco.
But we'll see if we even get it. I'm sorry, like every single time we were supposed to get this big soaking, and they're not anticipating. You know why? You could thank me. I washed my car, and I specifically washed my car because I thought that we would get some rain. I'm like, you know what? Screw it. If I don't, it's just going to turn to mud on my car anyway. So, but yeah, we need more rain. I turned my sprinklers off. So can we please start watering it for free, please? Thank you.
More people in the Bay Area are protesting over the Middle East crisis now. They held a sit-in at the Oakland Federal Building yesterday, demanding a ceasefire in Gaza as the war between Israel and Hamas continues. This forced employees to evacuate the building. The video shows hundreds of demonstrators chanting and holding signs as they refuse to leave. Again, this is the Oakland Federal Building. Happened yesterday.
Yeah.
Federal Protective Service officers finally moved in just after 8 p.m. They took dozens of people into custody, kind of ended this whole thing.
It was quite a sight. I was listening to an interview they did with one of the women, and they're like, "Why do this?" And she's like, "Because we've lost thousands upon thousands of people in like 3 weeks." And again, every time we mention this, we know that it's a complicated topic to talk about. I can't imagine seeing the horror that's going on over there and trying to, one, be president of the United States and make a determination of what to do and where to put our funds and everything like that. But I think everybody, and I'll say this every single time, everybody could see the loss of innocent lives is horrific. We should not stand for it, and something needs to be done. And I just always pray for a ceasefire and to get those people out of harm's way.
Absolutely. Lastly, Billy Joel's final Madison Square Garden residency shows are all sold out.
I love Billy Joel. I like his
too.
music.
Piano man and rock icon Billy Joel will be playing his last tune at Madison Square Garden July 25th of next year. That will be the 6-time Grammy winner's 150th lifetime performance at the Garden, giving new meaning to the term residency, they say. The Long Island native, who's 74, announced last June he's moving out of Madison Square Garden next summer. Now comes the announcement that tickets to Billy Joel's franchise Garden gig are all gone.
Wow. I wonder how much people paid for those tickets. Yeah. I've never seen him in concert. I've watched many an interview and obviously listened to his songs over.
Yeah.
He always says that he's performed these songs so many times. There was I think it's like an infamous interview that he gave where sometimes his mind just goes, like, what am I going to eat for dinner as he's singing like in between lyrics? Like imagine doing something that long over and over and over again. Do you get bored? I know I mentioned Britney Spears' book that I finished. I listened to it. But she even said it when she had her residency in Las Vegas. She said they wouldn't let her adjust the show at all, do remixes or anything like that. And she's like, it was so boring. I was bored. The dancers were bored. But again, it was like this whole control thing that everyone had over her. But yeah, Billy Joel that's a long residency. You said at Madison Square Garden, correct?
Yeah.
So, if you go, good on you. That's the last one. Yeah, Doug. Billy Joel is super awesome. Yeah. We didn't set the fire. Yeah. Who was it? Some band. Is it Fall Out Boy tried to do an updated version of We Didn't Start the Fire? It was total. It was a failure. Total failure. Only Billy Joel can do it, and he did it in order. So that was the gift and the niceness of the whole entire thing. So yeah.
This show is crowdfunded. We do rely on you. The NikkiMedoroShow.com is the website. It's where you'll find the Patreon and the PayPal links. Thank you for anything you can do for the show. I'm Kim McAllister on The Nikki Medoro Show.
Did you guys watch that Monday Night Football game last night? I know that Kim didn't watch it. It was insane. The ending was absolutely insane. It was the Bills and the Broncos. It was an amazing game. Anyways, the reason why I bring this up is talking about football, talking about wins and losses. I heard this story on the radio when I was driving my daughter to school, and I was like, what? Now, I understand, especially athletes have a lot of superstitions, okay? I mean, especially if you're on a winning streak, okay? But did you see this headline about Kansas City Chief quarterback Patrick Mahomes? So he gave this interview, and actually what I'm about to tell you had been disclosed earlier by the former Chiefs quarterback, Chad Henne. So apparently, Patrick Mahomes, two-time NFL MVP, two-time Super Bowl champion, has revealed the secret to his success. He revealed he has worn the same pair of underwear to every single NFL game of his 6-year career. It is a pair of red underwear that his wife gave him. He only wears it on Sundays, so I don't know. So if you on Monday Night Football, do you not wear it? I don't know. He doesn't wear it any other time. And so apparently he says, my wife Brittany got them for me, so I'm not throwing y'all down, but I have to wear them. At the same time, I threw them on that first season. We had a pretty good season that season. He says he only wears them for game day. Now, his record, he's played 89 career starts. Now, I don't know what the average wear time is for underwear. I have no idea. Okay. And he only washes them if he doesn't wash them as long as they're winning. Okay. So as long as they're winning streaks, he does not wash them. In his career, he's only lost
So gross.
18 times. He's had 89 career starts.
Which means he's usually wandering around in a pair of dirty
on game
skivvies.
day. On game day, he doesn't lose a lot, so he's not washing it. I can't. This is the thing, okay? And I'm not trying to gross people out. Football is a sweaty game, so I can't imagine taking them off. Where are you putting them after to dry? I would assume, and then they have to get crusty. Like they have to be like firm with sweat and disgustingness, and then you're just gonna put your feet through them again and pull them up. Now, Patrick Mahomes is a good quarterback.
In between games, they have a really good chance to air out.
It's not going to evaporate. Like it's not. No, it's gross. 18 times he's lost.
I'm trying to be helpful here.
Now, here's my other question. Now, those that believe in superstitions, do you think that now he has confirmed it? Because remember, the other quarterback had done it, had said it. Because he saw him. He's like, you see a lot in the locker room. You think that now that Mahomes has said it, does it jinx him? Like, I feel like if you're superstitious, I would not want to disclose my superstition.
No, that's not part of the superstition, the secret, unless it is. But
I don't know. But now that people know, I
think it's okay to say what your superstition is or what your,
what you do.
Sports. Yeah. I don't think the secret part, spilling
How much do you think people would pay for those red underwear?
I don't know, but I worry about I assume let's just say whoever does the laundry in his house.
His wife.
Let's just say it's his wife.
Yeah.
Or a housekeeper, whomever.
Yeah, a nanny, whatever.
I worry about the misplacement of the red underwear. Imagine if you were the one that lost the all-knowing, all-seeing red undies. Can you imagine him running around the house? Where's my underwear? Where's my red underwear? My lucky underwear?
No, I could not. I could not imagine. I mean, but that's a way. I mean, if I wanted Patrick Mahomes to lose, Kim, maybe he lets them dry and then puts in the freezer the remainder of the week, like people freeze their jeans. People freeze their jeans? Yeah. Is that a thing?
Yeah.
Why do you freeze your jeans?
Because there are a lot of people that don't wash their jeans.
So what does freezing do? Kill things?
Neutralizes the odor, perhaps.
Says who? Like, is that scientifically based? That if I freeze things, it doesn't smell anymore after it thaws? I think it would be grosser, in all honesty.
It'd be very chilly.
Ron says, oh man, it's been years, but I can still smell my shorts and shirt under my pads, and it's no treat. even if you wash them weekly. So now imagine not washing them at all.
No offense, men, but I'd say man sweat. Like you know, sometimes that's a triple washer. Like
yeah, you got to get it
imagine.
in there.
Yeah.
Or teenagers, any teenagers. Spencer says
feet?
$100,000 for him. I think if you the NFL Super Bowl quarterback that's won multiple, I think people are paying a lot more for those dirty underwear than $100,000.
That's gross.
Yeah, no, it's absolutely disgusting. Cecilia says my husband wouldn't wash his hockey socks if they won a game.
Oh,
I wouldn't
God.
go near his hockey. What is it about that? Like, you think that if you put them on clean, okay, let me just say this. If you put them on clean and started your winning streak, wouldn't you just think they need to be clean for the next one? Like if you won and they were clean when you
Right.
put them on, then clean them and put them on again. I don't know how, I don't understand how people convince themselves that keeping the stink on it makes it any better.
Because see, you don't really want to tamper with it. You don't know if like you don't want to wash the luck out of it. So you have to have it exactly as it was.
But it's not. It's gross. Anonymous says freezing jeans instead of washing. What has society come to? Exactly. Now somebody said Rebecca says no, Kim. The freezing preserves the color.
Oh, is that what it is?
Well, I know that
Okay.
you're not supposed to. So real jean, like real denim, you don't.
Right.
You're supposed to just spot clean. Now I could be wrong. I really don't know I mean, denim is made out of cotton, right? But I don't think that every pair of jeans can be spot cleaned. You know, I think that you need to definitely, like Levi's jeans are one thing. Some jeans you get into in the store, they're not as durable. So I don't know if that means you should wash them more or less, but I just think it's absolutely disgusting. But again, you know, if it works for Patrick Mahomes, who am I to knock it, right? Who am I to knock it? Some sad news out of Hollywood. Okay, Kim, you tell me. And I know that you don't watch as much crap TV as I do. Have you ever heard of a show called Selling Sunset?
Yes.
Okay, have you ever watched it?
Once.
Okay, so anybody that hasn't watched it, it's this show about real estate agents in Southern California, and they sell fancy schmancy homes, and then all the drama that ensues between the people. Now, the reason why I brought this up is because I was reading this article and I actually watched the episode and it was really sad. And again, to bring up Britney Spears' book, it happened to her as well. And it's this question of when should people, and you know, we could say in Hollywood, but honestly, anybody truly announce their pregnancies. Now, there is a woman on this show that's on Netflix. Her name is Mary Bonnet. She was on the latest season and she announced that she'd been trying to get pregnant. So she announced it. The kind of safe window I think she was in, but then she sadly miscarried. And so then she had to re-announce to everybody that she had a miscarriage. Britney Spears did the same thing. Remember when she was married to her now ex-husband, Sam? She got pregnant. She announced it. Now, I will admit she announced it a little too early, I would say, but unfortunately and sadly, miscarried. Do you think that, well, let me ask you a better question. When is too soon? Because, you know, obviously miscarriages can happen sadly, or something can go wrong at many points during a pregnancy. But it surprised me. About 10 to 20% of known pregnancies lead to miscarriage. And doctors believe that number is so much higher because many happen early on when people don't even know that they're pregnant.
That's right. Mm-hmm.
When you're in Hollywood, though, or even, I'm not even saying that, in the age of social media, where everyone announces everything. Ricky says, announce on your due date. I'm kind of leaning that way, though, Ricky. Like, do you think that we really need to pull back on these big gender reveal, pregnancy announcements, or does it take away some of the happiness involved? I know that you tried really hard to get pregnant. How soon did you feel comfortable announcing it?
I was very open about what I went through, and
Right.
so everybody already knew, like, you know,
That you had been trying and everything like that.
and then that there was success and then everything else. But I had a
Right.
big scare with Julia. I thought I'd lost her.
Yeah.
And so I get why people don't say it. I get why people,
Yeah.
keep it to themselves. I have a family member who just announced a pregnancy, and she waited until her 5th month.
Wow.
But my whole pregnancy, I thought it was going to be different. I thought it was going to be so joyful. And instead it was, um, is something going to go wrong?
Right. You were
I'm on
worried.
pins and needles. I was
Yeah.
worried the whole time. It wasn't what I thought it would be, like this happy-go-lucky, I'm pregnant, woohoo. It was,
Right.
I'm pregnant, uh-oh.
Yeah.
Now what, and then when I had the big scare, it was like, I was just kind of, and then with Jacob, the same thing,
Yeah.
where at first I got pregnant and they said, well, you're not pregnant. The numbers are low. We'll see what happens.
Oh,
They thought it was
God.
a chemical pregnancy at the very beginning. And then
What's a chemical pregnancy for people that don't know?
it is where you're pregnant, but it's in number only. So it's going to fall away. It's going to miscarry. It's not,
Okay.
the numbers aren't strong enough to really maintain, right? So they think it's not going to last. But
Yeah.
it did. But the whole time, they were like, well, he's smaller than he should be. It doesn't look right, and everything ended up being fine. Now he's the tallest kid in his class. They don't know sometimes how this is going to work out.
Yeah.
But because of that, like both pregnancies were like
Yeah.
stress laden,
Holding your breath
right?
the whole entire time.
It was never like this carefree, happy time. So
Mm-mm.
I completely understand why people would want to hold back the info and make sure, because what a horrible thing to have to announce.
Yeah,
And then
exactly.
when you announce that, everyone feels sorry for you, and there's a lot of pity, and nobody wants to go through all that.
No. Kim says, my cousin just announced and it was way too early. She lost it. She's young, like 26, and would have been her second child. I think it was under 3 months. Usually,
Yeah.
3 months is kind of once you get out of that first trimester type of area, maybe 4 months, that area. But it's such a happy time. And that's the reason why I brought it up. And I think that the influence of social media and Hollywood and, oh my God, I'm pregnant and I'm doing all of these things makes people announce things way too early. But it happens so often. Again, I was so surprised at the low end, 10 to 20% of people miscarry. That's the low end. And again, because so many people lose it early on, they didn't even know they were pregnant. They're like, oh, I'm just heavy this month. And no, you were not heavy this month. It's something else was going on. It's really, really, it's sad. And so my heart goes out, even though I know she's a celebrity and is never going to see this, but my heart does go out to people that are in the public eye in that way, who are just like normal human beings and want to share the happy news with people. And then, of course, they do it too early. And then you have to, and I can't imagine anything harder than getting congratulations and then getting sympathies. Like that has to be one of the hardest things to have to do. And so, yeah, it's really, really sad. I was going to talk about some other things. And again, in about 15, 20 minutes or so, a reminder that Emily Hoven with the San Francisco Chronicle is going to join us to talk about California's insurance market. But somebody posted this, and I just have to touch on it because I don't know how I feel. I really don't. This place is like, I have a love-hate relationship with this place because I never want to go, but once I go, my kids have a fabulous time. Somebody posted in the comments a little while back that Chuck E. Cheese is getting rid of all of its animatronic band members. There's only actually one left in the Bay Area, and then that's in Northridge. According to
creepy. Have you ever seen that band?
Dylan would never. My son, when he was little, I haven't brought him to a Chuck E. Cheese in a long time. There is no way in hell he is walking up. If they start, if they start walking around or they're singing the song and they always do the happy birthday and everything by him. Dylan was not having it. He's like, I do not think so. And he would get so upset. But I remember growing up as a kid, and it was the highlight of your birthday to go to Chuck E. Cheese and see the animatronic band and then the old guys on the it was so much. And then remember Rocky and Bullwinkle? Did you ever go to one of them? Like, it was so much fun, these animatronic creatures, I guess. But yeah, so there's only one. They say Chuck E. Cheese is in the process of renovating its kids' birthday party empire. As such, Northridge will become the nation's only Chuck E. Cheese fun center to feature an original animatronic band and the totally modern upgrade and experience for guests. So they'll have the band, and then they're going to have the upgrades as well. It will boast a quote unquote permanent residency, not Billy Joel, but permanent residency with Mr. Munch on keyboards, Jasper T. Jowls on guitar, Helen Henny on vocals, and Pasquale on drums. Hold on, I think I have a video here, and we'll have to just take it out. You guys get to see it live on this show, but here we go. Here they are. Where's the band? Let's play.
Thank you, Pasquale. That was beautiful. We'll now take questions if you have any. Yes, you there.
Weird? Is it weird?
Yeah.
And why Northridge?
Oh, they're doing a press
Someone
release.
once told me, "Go west, young mouse." So that's exactly what we're doing. We wanted to be somewhere the fans could always find us.
And SoCal has always been one of our favorite places.
So I don't know, man. I think it's a little weird. I get why kids kind of get freaked out about it. Kim says, I'm truly sad about this. I had birthday parties there. I was definitely a huge part of my childhood. And now there'll only be one in the country down in LA with the band. Yep. Do you also think that birthday parties, Kim, are changing, like where people or kids want to go and what they want to do, that Chuck E. Cheese and the old style animatronics, we deal in a world with AI and virtual reality, and these kids are watching something like that's blinking weirdly and moving its head in a not so realistic manner. Maybe that's what's causing it. Maybe not enough kids are really attracted to this antiquated form of entertainment. I don't know that. I mean, my kids are just too old now, but I think it's been, maybe not even that long, because we know some younger kids. So maybe 4 years, 5 years since we've been invited to a party at Chuck E. Cheese. Maybe a little less than that.
It's so cheesy and contrived. Like, I just never liked going there.
Did you ever have a kid's birthday party there?
No, but I've been there for kids' parties. When you get invited and you got to go. It's just so like such a. Sorry, Kim Schaffer. It's just such a come on.
Yeah, I feel like the joke is, if you want to get a cold with your birthday cake, you could just go to Chuck E. Cheese, because it's just gross and kids are touching everything. And then the big joke in our household is, with my best friend, every time she would have her kid's birthday party at Chuck E. Cheese, she always had to factor in an extra kid, which would be my husband, because that's all he would be doing is playing all the games and wanting more tokens and things like that. I think it's past its prime. And so I'm interested to see how it does. There used to be one at Chuck E. Cheese in San Jose. There's a bunch of them. There was one on Tully, which was huge. I think it was like 2-story. And then there was one off Cooser by Blossom Hill Road, and they closed that one down. We actually just drove by it the other day, and I was like, oh, that used to be Chuck E. Cheese, and it's still just an empty building. But kids are still into video games. I see Kim's comment. It's not what kids are into anymore. So I understand trying to update to compete.
Well,
but what do you have to do to compete, though?
Now it's like, look at the Star Wars ride in Disneyland. It's more realistic. Like everything is, and then they have the AI things up on the screen, and it's just, that's so old fashioned.
Yeah. And Donald, Five Nights at Freddy's, that's the animatronic horror movie that's in theaters right now. It is antiquated, but there's a nice, nostalgia involved in all of it. And Liz is absolutely right. It's an easy 2-hour birthday party, convenient for parents. And I will say this, and I know that people are going to be like, no way in hell. Even though it's kind of gross, the pizza wasn't that bad. It used to be, I feel like it used to be worse when I was a kid. The pizza's not that bad. It's decent for a kid's birthday party. And again, all you have to do is sit there as a parent. Like, you can give the tokens to the kids. You don't have to come up with any games. The kid gets to do the little thing where you get in the tube and the wind's blowing and they get to catch as many tickets as they can. You don't have to buy gift bags, because they'll get their little toy thing at the end. And if you do, you're a moron, because they're going to get a bunch of plastic crap anyway. I don't know. I was kind of sad to see that the animatronics are going away, but I'm encouraged that Chuck E. Cheese in and of itself as an entity and as a destination for birthday parties isn't entirely going away.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Square says in the 70s, Chuck E. Cheese animated characters were state of the art.
Have
Well,
they
of
been around that
course.
long? Has it been the 70s? I thought it was like
Oh, let's
80s, 90s.
see.
I don't know.
No, 70s. You're absolutely right.
Oh, was it?
So,
Okay.
according to this article, there was one in San Jose that started, in 1977. Pizza Time Theater opened in San Jose, and then I'm assuming that turned into Chuck E. Cheese when it started. That they just kind of changed the name. But yeah, so it's been around for a very long time. As far as what kids want to do now for birthday parties, I mean, there's the jump places, the trampoline places.
There's one. Speaking of cheesy parties,
Uh-huh.
there's one in Rohnert Park, and they have this party room,
Okay.
and they have this giant, like, inflatable plastic king's chair, and you
Ooh, interesting.
sit
Okay.
in this plastic chair if you're the birthday child,
Uh-huh.
and they put this plastic crown on your head, and everyone sings to you.
Okay.
And then they serve this plastic kind of pizza. It's real pizza, but it doesn't look appetizing at all. And then there's presents, and then everyone goes home. Like, that's the party after you jump on trampolines for a while
Yeah.
or blow up, their inflatables. It's I don't know.
I mean, I like birthday parties that wear kids out. I do like that. I mean, versus Chuck E. Cheese, where yes, they can run around, but it's not like an active thing. So, like, I think it's called like Sky High or something. It's the trampoline park out here. There's also for a little bit older kids, escape rooms for teens is
Yeah.
getting popular. But those places were Golfland. Golfland used to be a huge birthday place for me out here. The last time I went to Golfland with my husband and my kids, very rundown. Like, so I don't know if it's just it's not living up to, what people want nowadays. Dave and Buster's is still very popular, at least out here. So it's at the Great Mall, is the one by our house. And every time we go there, it's packed. It can get expensive. The food's not cheap. I mean, it has a huge menu, a huge bar if you're looking for a cocktail. But yeah, I've never done a birthday party. I've been to a birthday party at Dave & Buster's, and it's just like Chuck E. Cheese, except gigantic. And there's no animatronics or anything creepy like that.
We have a Scandia.
I've never been to a Scandia. I've driven past them. Is it cool?
Yeah, they have there's a little racetrack the kids can do bumper cars. They have batting cages. They have mini golf, and then they have a big arcade. And so it's like this family, they call it a family fun center. It's activities, basically. And there's just so much for kids to do there. And so, yeah, it's cool.
Al Anonymous is Golfland, a bygone of the 2000s. We still have a Golfland in our neck of the woods. It's right across from Oak Ridge Mall. I'm 99.9% positive it's still there.
How are you at mini golf? I suck
at it, and I don't like playing it. I don't like going. Every time somebody invites me, I always, I end up getting frustrated. I just end up like smacking the ball.
Yeah.
It's like wherever it goes, I don't
Banging
care.
off the windmill
Yeah,
or something.
I don't even care. I've never been good at miniature golf. I think putting is the most difficult thing. But yeah, the last time we went to Golfland, which wasn't that many years ago, it wasn't like this year. I think that's when my daughter got a lava lamp from the, with all the tokens. And again, my husband winning all this kind of crap because he's good at all of it. There's a Golfland in Milpitas, according to Janet. So yeah. Oh, and I didn't know there was two in San Jose, according to Sandy. One on Blossom Hill, that's the one across from Oak Ridge, and one in Sunnyvale on El Camino and Wolf. So there, you can still
do what Jennifer says, which is renting the video game bus. I think that might be expensive, but that might be a really fun party.
My daughter went to one. She had to have been in maybe third grade.
Okay.
And one of the boy in her class invited her to a video game birthday party. It's pretty cool if you're into video games. I mean, and they have all different kinds and all different types of controllers. It's quite the racket, right? I mean, and it's not cheap, but again, and I'm not knocking it. My daughter had fun, even though she doesn't play video games. They found easy ones for them to play. But it just doesn't seem is there a difference between putting tokens in video games and playing them at Chuck E. Cheese versus having the video game bus come and then they could play as many as they want? I guess not. It seems like I just sent kids to their bedroom to play video games, and there's no sort of, you're not getting tickets or anything. There's no sort of payout, I guess, that I'm used to if I go to Chuck E. Cheese. Jennifer, I will agree with you. I hate how dark Dave and Buster's is. You're right on that. It is, but it's huge. And they have so many different types of games, like the interactive ones, the ones you stand in, things like Wheel of Fortune, right? Like kind of gambling type of ones. So if you like that, that's the place to go. Jim says, I just found out there's a bowling alley and entertainment place at the old Valco Mall. Oh, I'll have to check that. I don't know what's it called? Do you know what it's called? I don't have a name. Golfland Sunsplash. I feel like that is on the way to Sacramento. I feel like I've seen that one before. But yeah, the options for birthday parties and things to do with your kids seems to be changing rapidly. But saying goodbye to the Chuck E. Cheese animatronics is, I don't know, it's just the end of an era. And there's nothing wrong with it. Right? There's nothing wrong with Chuck E. Cheese getting rid of them. It's nostalgia that's going away. And things always change. There was a Facebook post by one of our old colleagues, and I don't know if you saw it, and I'm forgetting who posted it. And they were talking about a candy shop that was closing.
Oh,
and
in Oakland, Sherry Brown.
Yes. And she was saying, this just makes me hurt I want things to stay the same of when I originally moved to the Bay Area. And someone had commented, I love the way you phrased it, that it's not like a sign of the times or the doom loop or anything like that. It's, we want things to kind of stay the way we remember them to be. But I always default to what we say about like Union Square and other things. If you don't visit these places, right? If the last time you remember going to Chuck E. Cheese is when you were a kid, you can't bemoan the loss of Chuck E. Cheese, right? You can't bemoan the loss of candy stores or fill in the blank store that was always there when you grow up and as an adult, if you don't still choose to patronize that place, right? Like you have to go there. You have to spend money there. But you guys are going to send me off bowling though. I hands down believe there should still be like dive bars, dive bowling alleys, because the cost of bowling, Dylan just asked us last weekend, let's go bowling. And I said, we do not have several $100s to spend.
I know it's expensive.
It is so expensive to go bowling. If you want to go on the weekend when everybody's available and has time to go, yes, if you go at noon on a Tuesday, it might be economical to go, but nobody does that. Sandy, I miss Cambrian Bowl so many. That's where I used to go. I had my birthday party at Cambrian Bowl a long time ago. Oh, that's the candy shop. That's a cute looking store.
It is. That is Sweet Dreams, and they're closing after 52 years in Claremont.
But again, how is business? I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
When's the last time you went to just a straight up candy store? I mean, even though that one place called Sugar that's sometimes in malls that sells the oversized candy bars and things like that, that's a store I just walk by. I'm not often going into those places, like I feel bad, obviously, that a place that's been around for more than 5 decades is closing. But I mean, Woolworths disappeared, right? Like there's so many stores that people grew up going to that don't exist anymore because people just don't go to them. Other stores move in, and you could blame the big boxes and places like that serve everything, right? But who needs
As they
to do
say,
that?
nothing lasts forever, right?
Nothing lasts forever. Oh, Kim says the article about the candy shop says her husband passed and she could not run the store without him.
Sad.
Well, that is sad then.
Yeah.
No children, I guess, or somebody that wants to step in and do that. But yeah, it's definitely changing times. I wish that when things changed, it didn't become astronomically more expensive. Back to the bowling. Bolero. Yeah, Jennifer. Bolero is across from Oak Ridge. It is insanely expensive. Now, I will tell you, it's nice. They have a like really fancy schmancy menu with all types of items on it for everybody. They do themed bowling and all sorts of things, but I miss Cambrian Bowl. I miss just a regular old bowling alley where you can go on a Friday or Saturday night and it still wasn't going to cost you hundreds upon hundreds of dollars. Sandy says it's a tragedy that Cambrian Bowl had to close. The shopping center is still there. There's no reason why the bowling alley couldn't have stayed open longer. That whole shopping center is going to be demolished. That whole shopping center, if you know the area where Cambrian Bowl, all my San Jose peeps, it is definitely from a different time. The stores, the layout, how big the parking lot is for the stores that are there that, I'm sorry, have very few customers every time I drive by it. There's like a Dollar Tree, there's a martial arts place. There used to be a Togo's that they moved to the other side of the intersection, on the other side of the shopping center with the grocery store. So things are changing, and that whole entire shopping center is going to be going away. All right, I'm going to switch gears because we only have her for about 10, 15 minutes or so. And I want to talk about something that's impacting all of us that live in California. If you don't live in California, you're not facing it, but we are here. And that, of course, is the California insurance business and what is happening in California. Joining us is our friend Emily Hoven with the San Francisco Chronicle. Emily, you're so busy, and I appreciate you taking some time to talk about this editorial that the Chronicle put out calling our insurance market a ticking time bomb. And we've heard about, this insurance company is leaving and this insurance company is not accepting any other clients. Explain the situation we have found ourselves in.
Yeah, well, it's definitely not a good situation.
No.
Essentially California, once we started getting hit with those really bad wildfires, including the Camp Fire in Paradise about 5 years ago, insurance companies started really seeing a significant hit to their profits, and they had to pay out a bunch more than they had brought in over the past 10 years, just due to the massive size of the wildfire and all the damage that it incurred. And over time, this has forced more people to go on to what is known as the FAIR Plan, which is the state's insurer of last resort that essentially just gives fire coverage. It's very bare bones, high cost, low coverage for people that cannot get insurance anywhere else. And the thing that's complicated about the FAIR Plan is that in the event that the FAIR Plan is not able to pay all of its claims, it's actually the private insurers who are on the hook for that money. And so basically, insurers have been reducing their footprint in California, not only because it's not necessarily profitable for them anymore to sell insurance in California, but also because they have to reduce their own liability in order to shoulder the growing liability of the FAIR Plan, which they could possibly be on the hook for. And so we just really have this concerning situation where the FAIR Plan is now arguably the fastest growing insurer in the state of California, even though it was never intended to be more than an insurer of last resort. And other companies are continuing to, reduce their footprint, stop renewing policies, pull out of the state entirely. And what they are really asking for is they are asking for a process that will allow them to raise their rates to actually reflect the cost of doing business. And part of the reason why they have been uniquely struggling in California is because California is the only state in the nation that does not allow insurance companies to factor into those premiums the cost of reinsurance, which is insurance for the insurance companies. And then also they deny the insurers the ability to use forward-looking climate models to ascertain what those premiums should be and kind of predict the level of risk that we're going to see in the future. So right now, California is calculating risk based on the last 20 years and is not thinking about what things are going to look like in the future, which would include, by the way, mitigation that's undertaken by homeowners and by the state. So it's just really a system that has not been modernized or reformed in decades, and we're seeing the consequences now.
How much of the fault does this lie with the insurance commissioner and also, the effort to stop price gouging of Californians? And yet there is also the business of insurance. They can't pay out if they don't make money. And if they're paying out all of these claims, they're obviously not going to want to do business in California. So did we go too far? Did the insurance commissioner have other officials gone too far to avoid price gouging that we've literally put ourselves in a situation where nobody wants to do insurance business with us anymore?
Yeah, well, I think that the blame for the situation is complicated. I mean, I think different people would place it at the feet of different entities. There are some that say Proposition 103, which California voters passed several decades ago, and essentially required the insurance commissioner to review any sort of change to an insurer's rate. And it also created a process for outside groups to intervene and challenge those rates if there's certain conditions that are met. And so we now have a situation where it takes last year, it took an average of about a year for a rate change to actually go into effect and get approved. And there was also in that proposition, it set a threshold of about 7%. And so if an insurance company tries to raise a rate above 7%, it triggers this more complex review process. And so what you will see a lot of insurers do is they will file repeated requests for 6.9% so that they don't have to go through that process. But 6.9%, they're never actually able to reflect the actual cost of doing business. And just doing 6.9% over and over again is not really, and each time it takes them like a year to go through it, it's not really an effective process. The insurance commissioner, in my opinion, took too long to act on the current crisis that we're facing. It was really only after the legislature failed to put together some sort of deal that would have addressed this. And the governor kind of said, hey, look, like we want the insurance commissioner to use his executive authority to address this, that he kind of came out with this plan that would allow the insurers to use reinsurance rates, to use those forward-looking models, and in return they would have to cover a larger percentage of homes that are currently being covered by the FAIR plan. And so that would achieve the effect of offloading a lot of these people off of the FAIR plan, which is really necessary to happen. But what we're seeing, and this would probably cause rates to go up. Part of the reason is because rates haven't gone up at the rate that they probably should have in the past. And so now we're having this massive jump when it would have been better if we had kind of had a gradual
incremental
time. But what we're seeing is people like congressional Democrats writing letters to Laura saying, oh, your plan isn't good because it's going to result in excessive rates for consumers. And it's kind of giving in to unchecked corporate greed, more or less. And I just don't think that that's even accurate. And I think that what we're seeing is no one wants to pay more for insurance. And people are always going to fight to, quote unquote, protect the consumers by keeping rates down. But if protecting consumers means the rates are kept so artificially low that insurers can't do business in the state, and you're instead thrust onto the FAIR plan, which is you're paying more and you're getting less, I don't really see how that's protecting consumers. And so I think we need to have a very serious heart-to-heart about what a sustainable long-term strategy would look like. And I think that pointing the fingers at the industry is not necessarily warranted. We can have a conversation about what they could do to, increase responsibility, keep transparency, all of those things. But businesses have to be able to make money in a state to continue to stay afloat. And honestly, I think there's very few people that would argue that what the insurers were offering Californians is not better than what the FAIR plan is giving Californians.
Right. So, and I know I only have you for a couple minutes more, but so the solution is trying to get people off the FAIR plan.
Yeah.
You were talking about how long it takes even to review rates and things like that. I mean, how quickly, if you could look in your crystal ball, do we need to move on doing something like this before, again, I mean, we were lucky this year, Emily, with the fire season, knock on wood.
Yeah.
But next year, there's no guarantees. The year after, there's no guarantees. Do you foresee something like this happening? One, how quickly do you think it needs to happen? And do you think that it's just going to be where maybe insurance companies' rates are only higher in certain areas that have been prone to wildfires in the past?
Yeah, so I think that we needed a solution to be in place probably yesterday.
Right.
And the unfortunate thing is that Laura's plan, he's not really set to release final regulations until December 2024. And then if we go through, the whole process that we just outlined, a lot of folks in the industry were telling me that we're unlikely to see full implementation until 2026, which I think at that point we are just kind of throwing our hopes to the wind and just praying that we don't see a massive wildfire before then. So I definitely think that whatever Laura can do to expedite that process while still allowing the public to have input is really, really important, because waiting that long is just asking for disaster. There's really not a contingency plan in place. And in terms of what people are going to pay in the future, I mean, I think that we are, again, going to have another serious conversation about how do we ensure that when we are developing in California, we are developing in areas that are not at this increased risk of fires and floods, because it's not necessarily fair for whoever it is to take on more liability for folks that are choosing to live in these areas that are significantly riskier, and then everybody in the state might kind of be thrown into insurance chaos because of that. And so there are going to have to be conversations about, this past year there was a bill that the legislature ultimately did not pass, but it was a bill that would have basically required local governments to incentivize new development in urban areas and not areas that are, in more rural and undeveloped areas that are more at risk of climate change. So I think that's going to have to be a discussion, but at the end of the day, the insurance industry is going to have to be a big part of that as well, because insurance is also a massive part of home building, and obviously getting a home, you need to have insurance to buy a home and things like that. And so I think there's a lot of question marks. But I think right now everybody is sort of seeing their rates go up, and the FAIR plan is not immune. The FAIR plan actually requested a 50% rate increase, but the insurance commissioner only granted them a 15% one. But that being said, some folks that were in particular regions actually did see their rates double, and we have people paying tens of thousands of dollars for insurance, which is crazy. And so I think it's very clear that we need to address this. And it's just funny because insurance is not a topic that, I think anyone hears and is like, oh, insurance,
until the bill arrives.
Right. And I remember when my editor was first saying we should talk about insurance, I was like, oh, and then all of a sudden now I'm like writing and talking about insurance. But the reality is that it does underlie, so much of everything. I mean, from our climate goals to our home goals, and just our affordability and equity goals. So it's really important to kind of understand that and to make sure that we are creating a marketplace that, again, is based not in just this kind of abstract rhetoric of we don't want people to pay more, but then you're actually creating conditions that are going to cause everybody to have to pay more. Yeah. So we need to have an honest accounting. And I think we might have to pay more now in the short term, but that is far more beneficial, in my opinion, than, rolling the dice and incurring most likely a massively more significant and painful cost in the future.
Absolutely. I can't imagine the conversation that's going to happen when Californians accept, because just like you said, accept the fact that they can't live everywhere because of the climate, of the wildfire risk, because of the insurance rates. We have to make the insurance rates reflect the risk of payouts. That just makes sense. Yeah. But sadly, we also don't know how much of California that's going to impact in the short term or the long term. And so those are hard conversations we're going to have. Emily, I appreciate you coming on. We're going to have you back on again real soon. Hey. Insurance, I hear you. I was like, but I was enthralled with this whole conversation because, again, it impacts all of us, absolutely all of us, especially those that have to pay the homeowners insurance policies. So thank you so much. We'll get you back on really soon. Thank you so much
for having me.
Of course. Bye-bye. Yeah, I love Emily. She knows her stuff. I will put the article in the about section. She literally texts me today, after dropping the kids home from school. She's like, I'm sorry, I just got back to you. She's always so flexible and willing to come on. And she's just smart cookie. And
there's a million questions I had for her, but I know that was a quick one.
Yeah, that's
we just called our insurance company to see, if there were going to be cancellations, and we're afraid we won't have a lot of options. Here we are in the North Bay and Fire Central.
Have they told you that you're at risk of losing your policy?
No, they haven't. My husband was just really concerned about it, so he called to ask, and they said we're not in the fire in the zone. They've zoned
fire zone.
California.
Yeah.
So we're not in the zone where they're stopping insuring anyone at all. No new policies are being written. So
Well,
there's that.
Yeah, it's a tough one. We'll have more conversations about this, of course, but Emily did have another. She was recording right before our show with somebody else. She's a very popular lady, so we'll get her
Wow.
back on the show as well.
Yeah.
All right, guys, we'll be back tomorrow. Please click the thumbs up button to show your support of the show and sign up to be an official Medorable, a monthly Patreon subscriber. Shout out to Jess, I saw, just became a new member. And I think also watching on Twitch, which I'm loving to grow my Twitch community. So Jess, welcome to the family. It's a great community. The water is warm. Just come on inside. Be like Jess. Become a Medorable. The Nikki Medoro Show.com. The Nikki Medoro Show.com. We'll see you tomorrow. Stay right here. Mark Thompson with Kim McAllister is next. And then the after party with John Daly and Kim after that. Love you guys. Bye-bye.
Nikki, you're oh so awesome. Miss Brown, like a beautiful blossom. You're also the best. I really can't rest. You're all so awesome.
Wow. Okay.